do a quick little video about Ready Player One because I didn't get a chance to share my thoughts on that. So, just getting right into it. I really enjoyed the movie. It was pretty fun, pretty energetic. Like right from the get-go, you are just submerged into this whole other virtual reality. And it's quite an adventure. You do feel that Spielberg-esque type of vibe to it, and it really reminded me of that action you would see in movies like Indiana Jones or Back to the Future. It's got that type of vibe to it, and of course, it's because of Spielberg. When I think of his movies and his filmography, I just really go back to the 90s, the 80s and the 90s, and that's nostalgia right there. And that's why this movie's been so successful, because at its core, this is pretty much a love letter to the 80s. And, there's no problem with that. I'm an 80s baby. I love the 80s. I mean, you practically had a pop culture renaissance going on at the time. So it's not very surprising to me that, filmmakers in Hollywood these days are going back to the well and kind of reusing or repurposing those properties and trying to inject that kind of vibe into movies these days. And like I said, Ready Player One does that like crazy. I mean, even down to the music cues. I definitely heard some Back to the Future music cues in there, and it was really cool to hear. I mean, they're practically Easter eggs all over the place. I mean, that's what the movie's about, Easter eggs. So it's really cool and self-aware in that sense. I really did enjoy that aspect of it. I'm not going to say it's the best movie ever because I felt it was kind of lacking with some of the character development. I really didn't like the whole love story going on there. It felt very, what's the word? Just superficial, I guess, to me. The main character, I feel like he could have done better in terms of acting. There were a couple of lines he delivered that were pretty cheesy. Especially when it came to the whole like love story part. There were a couple scenes there where I was just not buying it whatsoever. Especially because the two characters just met and all of a sudden they're just like in love with each other. And it just, I mean, I know he had been watching her on streams and stuff, but sorry, wake up, people. You don't fall in love like that, okay? Like, it just doesn't happen. And from what it seemed like, he wasn't interacting with her. He was just watching her on her streams. And like, she barely even knew who he was. And all of a sudden she's like head over heels for him too. Like, I just don't get it. That's not real. That's not realistic. And because of that, I gather that this movie was more geared for like preteens as opposed to the older crowd. Not saying that the older crowd won't enjoy the movie. I think they most definitely will, because of all the 80s references. And that's why this movie's pretty smart, because on the one hand you have the coming of age storyline with, the kids and our protagonist and his journey through, the challenge of the whole virtual world and the game and the egg that they're looking for. I wanted to know a little more about like his personal life, and I felt like they focused a little too much on the virtual world. But anyways, that's fine. Minor gripe. But yeah, and so on the other hand, you have all these 80s pop culture references, and that's what really sucks you in, It's a little bit gimmicky, I will say. I just feel like this has been the advent of, movies in Hollywood trying to incorporate all these old 80s properties into newer age stuff. So like it, we're remaking all these movies, all these horror movies that were successful back then. We're trying to recreate these ideas and yet keep the same names because we know that, they're cash cows. It was good and I had fun, but to say that it was a great movie is not, like, I can't say that. I'm probably making this sound like it's a terrible movie or something, but honestly, it's not. It's fun, it's lighthearted, definitely worth a watch, I would say. I guess what I'm just trying to get at is, like, I want more originality out of my blockbusters, and I just don't feel like I'm getting that enough these days. Sure, there are probably some exceptions, but I think for the most part, like a lot of these things are either connected to a universe that's already existed, or the plots and the characters are just so reminiscent to older stuff that we've seen already, that has been directed by Spielberg. And this is no exception. Like, it just feels like an older movie that, we kind of, you can already kind of guess what's going to happen. A lot of those older like tropes come into play. So, yeah, I mean, it's cool, it's fun, but it's nothing new. I will say that the CGI was awesome. They did a really good job with that, and I did like how they explored the like social aspects of, you know, engaging in a virtual world like that, and what that means, and how that affects your real life. So that was pretty interesting, I thought. It was a stark contrast between like how bright and fancy and beautiful the virtual world was, as opposed to the real world that was grimy, dirty, old, dilapidated. Just, it was cool to see that. So, yeah, in terms of like themes and stuff, that was well done, I thought. So, yeah, anyway, that's about it, guys. I didn't really plan this. I just kind of winging it. So, anyways, overall, cool movie. Not the best, not the worst, but definitely worth a watch, I would say. So, yeah. Alright, guys. Catch me on Instagram and on Twitter at PopDotComix, and I guess I'll catch y'all over there. Later.